right. Am I on the internet? Let's see. Looks like I might be. All right. Welcome. Yeah, I should be good. All right. Welcome, everyone. My name is Kurt. I'm a comic book colorist most of the time. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, we have this piece by my friend Gavin. You guys might remember all the way back in last Sunday when I colored the, what was that? Is it here? Yeah. We did this Spidey, which is loading. Good morning, Mr. Woods. We did this last week. This was done by Gavin. And I actually had a commissioner. Is that what you would call it? If you got a commission from somebody, are you the commissioner? Anyway, someone that had commissioned Gavin to do this saw that stream last week. And now I'm coloring this too. So I like how that works. We can keep doing that. Anyone that's like interested in me coloring your commission that Gavin or anyone else drew, yes, let me know. Someone last week there was like, wait, you do commissions? Yes. Okay, anyway. I got you, buddy. That's right. Yeah, let's keep this rolling. I mean, that's my vote. Is just every week somebody pay me to color Gavin's artwork, and like we can make this work. Because people like your art, man. I like your art. But anyway, Gavin Guidry, I think I put his stuff. Did I put his stuff in the description? I'm sorry if I did not, Gavin. I know it's still there. Okay, good. But yeah, check his stuff out. And hey, Mr. Woods, thank you for your 2-year plus membership at this point. I do, okay. But anyway, so and I like to start these as if you have no idea what's happening, and so I do want to try to explain for anybody that might be new what's going to go on here. So this is the inks layer. Now right now everything is on one layer. All right, on that inks layer there's just ink and the paper. It was scanned in, and here we are. So what I'm going to do is click this button that says brightness to opacity, and that is going to show me what's underneath all those lines, which is right now are the flats, which are, well, irrelevant. They're there for selections. The flats are here for me to select things. So I can be on this layer and I can click, and now I've got Cyclops, his suit, or I've got her face or whatever. It's just to make it easier for me. And I pay someone called a flatter to do that part. And it's not, it really doesn't have any bearing on what happens creatively. It's just a what do you call it? It's a time saver, labor saver for the colorist. And this layer is something else my flatter does. They're just separating the foreground characters from the background. So we really only need one of those because we can invert it. But yeah, you can very quickly in Clip Studio control click the contents of a layer, and it will select the contents of the layer. So I do that sometimes because very often during a stream or during something I'm working on, I want to do like a big sweeping change to the foreground and the background, and I do that pretty often. So having that as a quick selection just makes that easier. Good morning, Chris. Good morning. How's it going? Welcome, everybody. But anyway, this one's slided already, so it should go. That the base colored part should go pretty quickly, and I think we're gonna lasso today. We're gonna all lasso all the time today, because I'm tired of the comments telling me I miss when you do the lasso. I don't like your brush. I can't do the brush. I can do the lasso. All right, so lasso. How's school going? School's going very well. Hitting the midterms right now. or about that point. All right, so I'll tell you what I'm gonna do to start with. So we have Cyclops and Jean Grey or Phoenix. I don't even know which costume this is. I know it's green and gold, right? Cut and grad style. Yes, yes. If you know what that is, do I need to put that in the description or in the name? How to color X-Men with a lasso. Here we go. Cut and grad style with an exclamation point. That will bring the boys to the yard. Yeah, cut and grad style. That's what I'm talking about. And I like to start with a neutral base color because this is basically 50% gray. It's not perfectly 50% gray because if it was, I couldn't saturate it. You know, if it's just gray and you try to do like, oh, I'm going to open up the saturation, it doesn't saturate because it's, I don't know, for some reason that doesn't work. So what you do, or what I do, is I put just a slight smidgen of color in there, and that way it's pretty much looks gray. It's 50% gray, 50% summers. Someone, how can a mod fire themselves? Can you just remove yourself as a mod? Because yeah, I think the level of punnery has been exceeded. You put yourself in timeout? That would be funny if you could actually do that. But anyway, so this guy wanted details. He wanted, details beyond what is on the page. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna make this very big and bombastic and all that fun stuff. And so I think I want to start by setting up the background colors because I kind of know what colors these guys are going to be as far as their local colors go. And this will help us get our values and all that stuff straight too. So we're in the danger room, it looks like. And so I'm thinking, all right, let's do a quick sketch. I don't always do quick sketches, but we're gonna do a quick sketch today. So if he's this, really quick, don't worry. He's this and he's that, roughly, and that and that and that, and that's too bright, but you get the idea. Zappy going that way. That's yellow. She's not going to be the same red, but we're taking shortcuts. This is the gold parts, right? And then this is green. And I know they're not. She's not going to be the same color yellow either. Leave me alone. And so we got, it's actually like the costumes, green, yellow, and blue. Let's see. So if we go like brownish, and I'm kind of trying to figure out, this is just a quick ugly, really ugly color sort of sketch, and this thing won't look anything like this when I'm done. Just so you know. But I guess what I'm trying to figure out is like how much do we want like the blast to like dominate this whole thing? It's like, because not dominate, you know what I'm saying, like the we can minimize or maximize like, its effect on the area, because like in reality, which we're not in, it would be like, okay, looks cool. Well, it doesn't look very cool actually in person or on the thing, but it would pretty much do that, right? Because it's a big bright light source, you know what I'm saying. So we do something like this. And another question I have, it would definitely reflect in the gold part of the costumes, like that. Does Jean Grey's powers emit light? Do we know that? I don't know that I've noticed that. Do her powers emit light? Do they cast any light? That's what I want to know. What did my bracelet WWMGD? What would Marta Gracia do? That's what we're gonna look at for that. Hold on. Let's see. Jean Grey, Marta Gracia. And I think the answer is no. It probably depends on who you ask and the colorist and the artist involved. But yeah, I'm not seeing. Yeah, I'm seeing. Oh, here's. Yeah. Marta says no. I'm looking. Here, I found this is him. I don't know. There's a little purple back there. Maybe it's a very weak light. That's what it is. Anyway, I think that's what we're gonna do. It's gonna like I like the idea of the optic blast sort of being very visually distinct from the rest of this, and between that and her hair, it all like is gonna balance really well because her hair is also red. And yeah, anybody that just tuned in is like, oh, this is terrible. What are you doing? Good morning. I can't wait to see this get worked on. Thank you for making this happen. Oh yeah, Nick's the guy. Yeah, he paid up front too. That's you want to make an artist happy. Send them the money up front. Actually, I don't know if you did or not. I had 2 commissions this week. Somebody paid me up front and somebody didn't. Maybe I'm mixing them up. I can't remember. Anyway, somebody did. I think her powers do, but are minimal. That's kind of my thinking on this too. All right, so we know. I only like to pay up front. Yeah, I think it was you. So I just going through the same dilemma about casting light with night crawlers. Yeah, it's funny the kind of the stuff we have to think about. As a as colorists, and that nobody else has to really worry about. Right now, I'm not even really thinking colors too much at this point. I'm just trying to figure out what maybe kind of what value things are. And so I'm just kind of sliding all of these values and colors around. And then we'll match them up with some actual colors later, maybe. All right, let's see. Let's do that. What is that? Oh, that's part of the glass. Oh, sorry, I'm doing all this zooming in and out. Let me do this. Canvas, new window. That. Almost. There. Now maybe I won't constantly feel the need to give you guys a headache zooming in and out. Excuse me. Yeah, and the other thing too is I kind of like to set a floor for how dark things are also going to get. Because if you set that at this point, and if you don't ever go any darker than that, then it's nothing to worry about. And it also sort of it sets another marker for, like, earlier I was talking about I've got the mid gray or mid gray ish, It's like this you know, dark gray color here puts another sort of you know, it puts another stake in the ground and go, okay, well, now I'm working between here and here, you know, and so it helps to break up the values like that, and that way it's a little bit easier than trying to just make them all work at the same time. You know, it's like break it up into sections, and that's what I would do. And I like these. Let's keep them cool. I thought about warming it all up, but because there's a lot of warmth in the characters, keeping this stuff really neutral and on the gray cool side will help. All right, and if you hit the quick mask, he has a glitch with his visor. There's my bad pun for today, Chris. So now we're even. You decided it did. Yeah, I think Nightcrawler probably would throw a little light around. I would anticipate that. And I'm starting with do I want to? No, I'm gonna. Yeah, let's do something different here. I'm gonna select these people, and yeah, let's start there. And I'm trying to decide how much of this background I want to do ahead of time before we start on the characters. That's the other thing I'm thinking about. Because if I start doing these characters, then the background feels really boring when you're done with the characters. I'll tell you what, I'm indecisive today. But I'm going to pick a new layer on top, just a normal layer, and just soft airbrush. For the background, I'm not going to do a whole lot of lasso-y stuff. I mean, I'll do some probably on these, maybe the bricks and things, but I want the texture of the background to be different than the texture in the foreground. Like, so I want it to be a little painty. I think we'll definitely do the cut and grad on the characters for sure. And if you guys have questions at any point, feel free to fire away. The toilets at the hotel at Thought Bubble are extravagant. There's a book coming out. Oh yeah, yeah. I was in there, and I agree. They deserve their own. They deserve their own graphic novel. And this is a bit of a kind of a water. Ooh, that's two brushes. Slow, slow. Let's not go that slow right now. That's too bright. But yeah, I want to do some just really subtle, soft lighting on some of this stuff for now, and I'll probably come back and detail some of this up. But yeah, I'm basically just switching back and forth between the color, the color and opacity, or transparency, I guess it is technically. Um, but you'll see that toggle from here to here. That right there. So I'm either adding or taking away. And I reserve the right to change my mind about all of these colors later. But they're on a big normal layer, so in that way, sorry, I'm still zooming out. It's a habit. What was I saying? I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, these colors are definitely gonna probably jump around. That's why I like to work on a lot of, not a lot, but I like to work on a few layers. So if I do want to, shift things up, we can do that at almost any point. It's interesting hearing what color people think their powers are. Like, is an optic blast red, pinkish red, dark red? Is it a lightsaber with a lighter core? It depends on the colorist. Then that's something we'll figure out at some point too. But yeah, I've seen it done a lot of different ways. Like I'm a big fan of like the sort of, like, to me it looks more impressive when you have the like really hot like core, going on. And that's a bad example of that, but like, to me it feels worse to get hit by. Like, and I know it's concussive force, but it does glow. And of course, yeah, there's Doug right on time with the concussive force. I was cutting it off, honestly. As I said it, you typed it because of the delay. But a hot core, as in like the core of a lightsaber, is not red. Like, if you go watch, they're white with a glow around the edge. You know what I mean? So you got to compare it has energy. Exactly. You got to show it somehow. Yeah, and that's my theory on that. um, And what I'm going to do after this, I think, is, well, it'll get tinted back and forth, but I'm thinking, yeah, it's already brighter. I know it's brighter closer to them, but I want to make it redder, and it'll be a nice little, like, echo of the big blast if, like, this kind of thing happens. And it's subtle, but it'll be framing like the green part of her, and it's not as intense as everything else, so it still doesn't draw like unnecessary, like it all is, it's good for the art. What am I doing? Oh, if you saw the title of this and saw Lasso, I'm gonna do Lasso stuff on the characters. This is not a clickbait um spam. Yeah. And having the base color be cooler in general uh makes sense on this kind of thing, because if it was all warm, the contrast between the red, it wouldn't feel as red. I know that's a hard thing to wrap your head around for some people, but saturation is always relative. So by having a darker, cooler base to put the red against, like I said, it looks more red than if I actually shifted the base color to, just to show you what I mean here. I'm trying to do like an actual like coloring tip kind of thing. Well, that changed all of that too, which I didn't mean to, but anyway, you get the idea. What else? And I'll probably come back and visit this, and I don't want to get too detailed at any point right now, because as soon as I do, you know, it's like you got to bring everything to that level. So at this point, like the values are all kind of in the same ballpark, and there's a lot of things that aren't gonna really gonna look different. But I'm basically trying to set up. I don't need to show that, but I'm basically trying to set up a relatively simple background from a color standpoint. It's like, yes, there's a lot happening in the background. There's smoke, and there's buildings and windows and rubble and the danger room wall and more rubble. And so if I were to go in here with, like, you know, white rubble and brown stuff and a red wall and gray smoke and, you know, brown whatever, it's like if I push all of those elements into different parts of the color wheel, there's very little cohesion going on, you know? And so it's difficult to break a pattern when the pattern is chaotic, right? So you try to make the pattern in the background less chaotic, you know? And so all of these values are, or the colors, relatively close together. Not a lot of huge swings in saturation or anything going on. If I did want to, that's fine. It's just I would make sure that that's happening in a pattern. Like if I'm doing, you know, it's light stuff up here, then I would, that's a really bad brush for this. If I add like a light element here, then I just might want to offset that somewhere else so that it's still, so that it's not dominating the image, you know. And this is a bad example. I wouldn't do that. But, you know, but one of the things I see a lot of beginners do, they're like, oh, the window's white and this is that and this, you know, and they just go straight to local color without really thinking about the repercussions of what they're actually trying to do, which is create some focal points and draw some attention and that sort of thing. I have to confess, I love the colors you did on Gavin's Spidey and Lizard piece, which you did with crayons and markers. I would love to see that. I would love to see that. But yeah, I'm glad you liked it, man. I really am. Um, Alrighty. Let's see. What else? I sort of like the idea of, I don't know if this would look good. I'm trying to imagine in my head, like, this is a movie and this is just like, what would this look like? What would happen? And like, it's interesting to think about, like, maybe, I'm not saying go this bright, but if we started there Like that's kind of dominating everything, right? But if I, is that on one layer? Yeah. So I'm going to switch to transparency and start painting this out of where I don't want it. And let's see what happens then. And I'm kind of trying to see from this angle, like what if the blast, you know, what it's hitting. So it wouldn't really get this. Let me go ahead and take this off the bottom. But I like the idea, especially if they're, I mean, obviously the ground's the closest thing to them other than the characters themselves. So again, to me, it's like I really want to intensify, you know, the energy of the moment here. And I'm literally just deleting, hitting the delete key right now. Whoops. And let's see. I also think I'm going to, I'm going to turn this down just a little. I'm going to take some saturation out of it, but not very much. And I think what we'll do, I think it'll make more sense when it's done, probably, than it does right now. But I think it's going to work out. Oh, and there's areas that would like be cast shadows. Maybe we do like that. And yeah, and that kind of helps to break up some of these shapes a little bit more. And it kind of flows with her leg a little bit better, I think. Anyway, something like that. Yeah, that lizard thing did get colored by a couple people. I'm debating about the method to take from here. There's a lot of things a lot of ways we can go. Let's see. Yeah, I think I just want to go full on like cartoon to start, like just all base colors as if, you know, the good old fashioned way. instead of what I was thinking about doing. This will give me more flexibility later. Where is yellow? There it is. There we go. I can't figure out how to explain to my flatter that they don't need to do that. But they always do. You notice how you see what's happening here? Do you see why you wouldn't need to flat that shape? I'm going to fill it. It's filled. If you're flatting this, you can literally go dirt. Okay? Just so you know. You got to bounce family stuff in Jackson, Louisiana. Yeah, it'll be up on YouTube. I don't even know where that is. Jackson. I didn't know y'all had a Jackson. Oh, but you do. Well, there you go. Well, thanks again, man, for sending this over. And but yeah, I'll send you the copy of it. When you're manipulating the values, do you strive for any sort of parity or even numbers or trying to work in increments? Oh, that's interesting. No, I don't. I don't get that specific with it. But yeah, I don't even keep swatches. Like a lot of people work from just big libraries of like this kind of stuff. These are just all of the last colors that I've chosen. It's just the most recent ones. But I know a lot of older colorists, let's say, that have been around for a very long time. That probably means they're smarter than I am. They just have, they don't really do a lot of this. Searching for whatever. They just go to their swatch for it. I know some people that do that, but it's just not how ever how I've really worked. Because to me, it's like, I don't know quite how to. Swatches feel too limiting to me, like somehow. Doesn't make any sense, but that's about it. I wasn't sure if the math, like the -8 and +24, had any connection. -8 and +24, what are you? Oh, like these numbers, these literal numbers. Okay. I guess I didn't even. I guess I see there are numbers there, but I don't ever look at them. Yeah, that's funny. To answer your question, no, they don't have the numbers themselves. I mean, conceptually, I could probably put together one, and it would work pretty well. But yeah, I don't necessarily measure it out. Like, I've got this theory. I mean, it's months before somebody makes this, or somebody within a year. You're gonna have like, all right, quick tangent. I just drew something like this the other day, so it's fresh on my mind. I'm just gonna draw it again. Let's say you've got the usual big epic tree in your digital art, and then you got to have like the door in it, and there's a guy or whatever, and then back here is the forest. All right, what we're gonna see in the next couple of months is something that effectively goes, okay, this is the foreground, and this is basically what AI art is doing now, and we're going to say this is the far background, right? And you're going to be able, I'm trying to make this look a little bit like something for a second, so this will make sense. This background stuff, and then in the foreground, it's a pretty tree. All right, and the golden light of whatever. Okay. I'm pretty sure we're all going to be able to just do, like, open up the art in the AI thing and say, you know, this area is my prime, like, plane 1, you know, this area is plane 2, and my focal point is in this area. And it's going to go beep, boop, 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 and then you're going to get, like, a colored image. Like, if it doesn't recognize it on its own. Like, but there's going to be, that's what's coming, I think, is like, you know, this is my background, this is my foreground, help. You know, we've already got, you know, I know some of the apps are already letting that kind of stuff happen, like with changes, like, oh, I only want to change this part of the image, you know. And so it's terrifying. It's kind of insane. Like, it's gonna be. I mean, I say it's terrifying. I'm really not terrified by it. The people that are, what would you call it? Interested in art from artists, they're always gonna be there. You know. So, that's my take anyway. You feel like you have mental swatches? You know, I have lots and lots of mental swatches, yeah. Absolutely. All right. These things are, what, gold? Goldish? I need to see this costume. I think. Yeah, and the sash is the same color. Now, I am not actually starting with, like, what I would consider to be the, like, what, you know, what most people would say, oh, that's the color of that gold or that yellow or whatever. I'm starting with what I want the shadow of that color to be. You know, because if you were to walk up to you in cosplay, like, it would be more, you know, you would feel that it's more like this, right? But that's where I want my mid-tones and lights to be, and not the shadow, you know? And if I have a red light in the background, then the yellow is going to shift warm, you know? Or if the environment in general is warm here, so, you know, I'm shifting a little bit warmer than I would. Hopefully that makes sense, because now when we can put yellow against this, and you can see the contrast of it, you know? Anyway. Metallic gold, yes. And you can see that. I talked about this a little bit on Gavin's last Spider-Man drawing, but you can see where he's added these core shadows in the shiny parts of her costume. But they don't appear anywhere else. You know, so that's a clue to you as the colorist that you should not render these two things the same way. You know, this is a more of a matte sort of finish relative to, you know, what's happening over there. You ever just know that was not it at all, was it? Right about there. The other thing I'm thinking here is I know that gold feels lighter than the green. You know, and so that's another measurement. It's not just like, oh, I need green. I know roughly the ratio of how different that green is from that orange. You know, if I were to pick what I did originally, which is closer to like this, it's like, well, the value of that's too bright. It's the wrong green, you know? And so when people ask, like, how do I choose colors? So much of it is based on the little, you know, boundaries you build for yourself in the image, you know? So I've already got a lot of things established. I know about how bright I want the gold parts of a costume to be. And so that gives me a range of like, oh, well, this needs to be about right here, you know? Like, or if it keeps me from getting to here too. It's like, that feels very wrong. It's too far away, you know? It's always a measurement. You should always be doing that tension measurement between your colors, because it's every single brushstroke or fill that you make, you should be doing a comparison, you know? Anyway. I'm gonna go ahead and change the color of these lines because I know I'm gonna change them, and it'll help me to determine what else I'm doing around here. And I'm gonna put a clipping mask on the inks so it just snaps to them. And same thing here. These are not going to be this color. And you can't use the flats for this selection, because if you do, it's going to cut the line in half. So you have to make the selection yourself, or expand it if you're lazy. There we go. That little divot the flatter put in has been right across there. Has been bugging me. So there we go. We're smoothed out now, I think. All right. I'm thinking. Yeah, I think what I'm gonna do is do some just regular like environment lighting that's not coming from either one of their powers, just something from the environment, and then I'll add their powers over the top, I think, or his powers. Since hers, we're not gonna do any light from it. That makes sense. All right. And I'm also going to clean up some of these flats, which are a little strange in places. Although I don't want that going that low. Yeah, that's better. So let's look at the light here for a second. So we've got a dark shadow here. We've got shadows underneath here, shadows under the abs, shadows under the legs, you know, shadow along the bottom. So, you know, we've got this kind of generally top-down lighting. So that is what we're going to do next. And I'm actually for this, for the sake of time and keeping me from having to choose a whole bunch of colors, I'm going to brighten this about as much as I want to brighten it. And I want to tint it a little bit. I think I want to tint it. Do I want to tint it cool or warm? I think I want to tint it the slightest bit cool. Slight. Maybe not. Maybe warm. I like warm better. Slightly warmer. And this is, if you're in animation stuff, you'll see these kind of adjustment layers for shadows and things like that a lot. Because they don't want to go in there and have to paint all those colors on either. So they put an adjustment layer on top. And that makes that better. Excuse me. You forgot some of Gene's power pieces. Oh, yeah. I will allow that. I typically don't want feedback, but that kind of feedback is okay. All right. Let's get back to this. And I'm gonna probably do this in a couple of stages, or I am gonna do this in a couple of stages. So the guy that actually is paying for this commission is here. What you'll see me do is I'm gonna go everything with kind of one pass at a time, and then go back and add detail in places over this. So don't think just because I've moved on from an area that it's, you know, done. There's definitely multiple stages here. Oh, I didn't figure you were, but yeah, I had somebody one time that, but yeah, I like to get ahead of some things. Now, as this is kind of going down his body, and so, I mean, I've made a bunch of selections there, but I'm really just gonna hit the top, because I you know, if I were to color this plane facing straight up, and this plane the same color, then I don't get any sense that there's a shift in, you know, that surface. You know, by making sure that the front's just a little bit less, just a little bit darker, it gives a little bit more of a sense that the light is actually coming from the top. Just out of curiosity, when you add the beam lighting, will you be using an overlay or hard light, or neither? I'm doing something similar at the moment. I don't know yet. It kind of depends on what happens. When I get there, I'll tell you. Probably it'll either be a hard light layer or a normal layer, or, you know, it'll make sense when we get there. And as we're getting further down his body, I'm also just being a little, you know, less detailed in what I'm doing. Well, you can't really tell that at this point, I guess. but it will the further I get away from torsos, into legs and the corners of the image, typically the less concerned I am about exactly the detail level can shift around, should shift around. All right, and what else? This is definitely X-Men animated series influence on my part, and probably Gavin's too. So I'm gonna duplicate this levels adjustment. You see that it doubled the effect. I'm gonna put a mask on it so it's not affecting anything. This is another thing that I've found recently that's a huge time saver. So this layer is lighting him with that slightly warmer light that I added there. This is just a copy of it. So it looks exactly the same when it is on its own, but it will add to what's happening with this layer. So even though it's the same effect, if I go in with, let's say, into the visor here on this layer, it's now a level warmer and brighter than it even was before, And so this is another, quick way that if you want to, I think about it as like this being the surface lighting, and this layer being the specular lighting. That's actually how I think I do it. So where right now we're only looking at the lighting that is either hitting the surface or not hitting the surface, and we're getting the color of the surface or the shadow. But if I use this layer, I can go in and add specular highlights and change the texture of how all of these elements look. I can add in some stuff. I'm going to do this with the lasso in a second, but that changes the texture very quickly, just because we're now adding a specular reflection as opposed to just what the light's hitting. Does that make sense? I'm going to back this up. There we go. And I'm sort of thinking about this hair as it's really just a couple of cylinders. The other thing I'm going to do on this, I think, is actually, can we shift that a little toward yellow? What is opposite yellow? I can't remember. It's not green. Oh yeah, it is. There we go. That's about the color I want on my specular highlights. So I'm thinking, oh, I undid my renaming. Sorry, I'm experimenting here for a second. Yeah, that should be good. So this is we'll call surface lighting. I'll rename this and specular. I'll try to keep that the same on both of these. His hair looks a little light to me. Again, because I'm working in multiple layers, I can come in under that and darken it, and everything I've done is not ruined. All right, and let's see. We got this visor. And I'm going to do a little bit brighter on this. I think. Yeah. But the other thing you can do, you can also control, is that it? Control click the mask, which on this layer, which has got all of the lighting, all right? All of the lighting I've added so far. And so it selects the lighting, which means I can come in with another, you know, on another layer, and now everything I'm doing is staying in the light, and it's avoiding the shadows. This is a big time saver too. It took me way too long to figure this out. The quick mask looked perfect. Oh, from all of the... yeah, they're blasting off and on. And his skin looks too cool to me right now. I'm going to warm it up some. Yeah, when you start adding colors and things, like, at least me, I'm always like having to shift stuff again. I want to point something else out here. So I went to do that effect, and it was more than I want right now. So I want you to notice where my brush is when I do this, okay? See where you see the brush size, all right? Look where my brush is. I am more outside than in his skin right now, right? That's something that I see a lot of beginners also that like don't realize you can color with the outside edge, and it helps. Are you guys hearing okay? It's telling me that the audio is bit rate's weird or something. I don't know why. I haven't dropped any frames. Anyway. Alright, we've about done all of him except for the blue. Let's see, is that gonna work on? Yeah. Audio is good. Okay, yeah, I don't know what YouTube's talking about half the time. They're still trying to get me to let them insert ads automatically. I'm fighting them off as long as I can, guys. They're like, "Are you sure? Every stream we can put some ads in for you while you're working." Nah, I'm good. I'm good. All right, where was I? Lasso-y stuff. I'm gonna come back over this later with the red light, like I said, if you're wondering like what's happening there. And yeah, I'm keeping this pretty subtle because you know, it's a really deep blue, so there shouldn't be like, to me, it shouldn't be like a crazy amount of contrast in it. But I tend to break up my sections into like the literal lighting section. So like what I was doing, if you didn't follow that, was like this whole kind of area all at one time. I kind of know what the lighting's going to do there. And same thing here, like that's basically one big shape I'm treating. But then, you know, this is a little bit of a different plane down here, so I selected it separately. But that's really all I'm thinking there. Let's see, let's do that again. Yeah, on the cartoon it was super dark. Yeah, it's like that's such a tough thing to like I think show in animation, you know, is like having that, especially there's so many like deep shadows on the body that have to be animated, and they would prefer to probably not do that. You know, but if you didn't have the shadows and he was just like that intense blue, then he looks like a smurf running around. So yeah, like I'm sure that was a big I'm sure that was a discussion for a while. um but let's see, what else. Cutting grad is your favorite style? Love coloring this way? It is fun. Yeah, I'm on a book now doing a little bit more. But yeah, I think I'm just faster and sort of prefer, I don't know, for some things I feel like I'm faster with just painting, like just going straight to whatever it is. Um and others, I don't know, maybe not. I'm trying not to cut too many technical details on her face because it typically is just a lot less on women. It's harder also. It's way harder to like, at least for me, to get all of those cuts on a female face to look anywhere near the other. What are the hotkeys you're using to quickly feel the red to check your selection? It's Q. It's the quick mask. Um. Oh, I'm on a. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer. There we go. Yeah, it's just Q. Quick mask is for like it allows you to like paint selections or whatever. Like if I wanted to do this, when I turn quick mask off, that's what my selection looks like. You know, that's how you're supposed to use it. Um, I 99.9% of the time I just use it to check my selection because it's easier to see than the little marching ant guys. You know, I'm gonna darken her hair a lot because it's the problem with red. The first I did one of my courses has a lesson on why red is weird. Um, Here's why it's weird. So I'm in red. I'm in like about as red as I can get, and this looks like red. But like if I darken it, most people aren't going to call that red. And if I lighten it, most people are not going to call that red. You know, like red is only red as a midtone. And that's what makes it weird. Like mid to, I mean, if you look at this in black and white, like red is dark. You know what I mean? Like the saturation level adds a lot of darkness to the value. And so when you're trying to color something that's red, like you really kind of have to darken it way past, or at least for me, way past what you would think, so that your mid-tone actually becomes red. Because if you don't, if you lighten it, of course, it turns pink. And if you again, if you darken it, it turns into something else. And there's really not any other color that's quite like that, I think. Like yellow to an extent, because yellow is only really yellow when it's bright. But even a bright yellow, you would still say is yellow. Dark yellow, not so much. But a blue, people are gonna call blue in this whole section. People are, oh, this is all blue, or green. We see more green than any other color. We can determine more different colors of green than anything because that's the color of our environment. But anyway, but red, nope. Red's like red right there, and that's it. What are some colorists you would say are currently underrated in the business? That would mean that I have to read enough books to know those people, or follow social media better than I do. I don't know, man. I don't know. And I know that's sad, but I don't know. Like right now, and really the last year or two, I can count on one hand the number of comic books I have read. And I do know those names you just mentioned, and both of them, I mean, to me, those are mainstream colorists. Like, I don't know what you're calling mainstream. If mainstream to you means Marvel and DC, we might not have the same opinions. But, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, oh, definitely there are other colors that as you darken and lighten them, we call them different things. But what I mean is like like we strongly identify red in a very narrow, you know, band of color. That's all I'm saying. This is more about language than color, but there's a theory that the reason blue is always the last color to be named in a language is because they used to refer to it as a shade of green. I've heard that too. I've heard that too. Yeah, I heard the exact same thing. Even this, trying to get a color that doesn't look pink or purple or anything is strange. That's what I mean. And again, just because it's hair, I want to give it a different, a little bit more texture, a little bit more specular stuff so that it feels like hair. On an overlay layer, or you could probably do this in hard light. I don't remember which one it is, but I think it's overlay. I just want to darken the dark parts a little bit here. Yeah. Lovely, lovely. And that color and CMYK does not, nowhere near as impressive as it was. Yeah, we can't really saturate it. Am I crazy? Why is that? Oh, it's a different layer. Okay. Yeah. Can we saturate that? Yeah. So, yeah, this is an interesting little game you can play. So, purple, saturated purple, lavender is just not possible in CMYK. Okay? Like, you see from here to here, like, hardly nothing's happening. All right? But if I turn off the, what do you call it? CMYK preview. That's the same scale. It's just showing you all the things it cannot do. Okay. So what I did to offset that is warm the color up some. And then I can saturate it. You know, not well, a little bit more anyway. And I can still keep that purple base, but for the brighter parts, that's why a lot of times you see it leaning pink in comics, because like light purple just turns into almost gray in print, you know? Mike Spicer is here. Oh man, how's it going, dude? See, I just imagined that Mike is just judging my process or something, like, because any other colorist, we all work so differently, usually. So yeah, I'm always curious. Anyway, all right, let's get this done here. And I don't really like that color for the gold that I want on that selection, so I'm just going to switch to a gold that I do want. But yeah, this is a perfect example of why you can't like just mechanically use the same like levels adjustment that I made. Like you can't just keep using it on everything. It doesn't always work. And here I am following what Gavin put down very closely because it's really well drawn in there. Same thing here. Layer was I on? There we go. Here, let's just do this. Yeah, I still catch myself like when I was a kid and just turning my whole body to compensate instead of remembering I can turn the canvas. Hold on, let's redo that. And again, because I really wanna, she looks a little pale actually. Let's leave her pale, and on an overlay layer, overlay is good for, I use it specifically for this a lot because it won't, again, it'll blend with what's there. There we go. That warmed her face up nicely. We'll do a little bit on him also. A little on the nose. Much better. And her eyes don't really look like they're glowing to me, and so I want to do a little bit on top of the lines for that. And we can also get brighter in the center, which is going to help sell that effect. And maybe we'll do a little bit of light reflecting onto her hair from her eyes. Wait a minute. Yeah, but warmer. Lovely. Always wanted to know how to do that. How to do what? Oh, the overlay trick, probably. If we really want to make these look gold, on all of the surfaces that turn or create a little point or anything like that, I'm adding some additional lighting. What layer was I on? Yeah, I way too quickly. Oh, I was on that layer. Okay. Way too quickly forget where I'm supposed to be. Coming together. Oh, the overlay trick. There was a trick. No, I was just showing on the skin here. You know my trick, Chris. There it is. Like it goes a long way to make skin look more realistic and less, you know, dead. And what else? What else? Do we want to get fancy with reflections? Maybe a little fancy with reflections. Yeah, I'm imagining this is reflecting her costume effectively. It probably wouldn't reflect that strongly, but it looks cool. And this would reflect the ground below. Yeah, a quick shortcut to like know, because I used to wonder, like, how on earth do you know where to think about doing that? Get into your shadows and then figure out what would reflect into your shadows. That's it, basically. Like this surface, what would reflect off that surface, you know? Or what would look cool reflecting off that surface? Sometimes that's the answer. You know, like I could put some in her, like it makes sense. Her hand would reflect some of her hair. That kind of stuff, you know. Anyway, let's see, what can we do? It's going to be similar to his suit, where I don't really want to introduce a ton of contrast to it. I'm thinking. Let's see, what color is that? Is that a good color? Yeah, that's a good color. All right, so just do all of this at one time. So I'm going to start real broad. And again, just edge of the brush, let it like kind of fade down. And anywhere I don't want it, we can cut it out. Whoops, don't delete the whole thing. How am I doing? Doing pretty good, Paolo. Thank you. Have you switched to a levels adjustment as your main rendering and not hard light? I still use a bit of both. Like it just depends. Like I said, with this, it's like I really want that sort of cartoonish, just consistent lighting as far as like with the levels adjustment in this case, I like using it when I need effectively a lighting for local color that doesn't have a strong tint to it. And then sometimes I even still put strong tints in those. But I still like hard light for, like on this one, or maybe it was normal, I can't remember. Yeah, like these levels adjustments didn't work for this gold. You know, that wasn't like it's not that kind of adjustment. And so I'm always going back and forth. This is actually kind of a good place to use that quick mask. So if I go to quick mask mode, I can paint a shape that I want the lighting to be. This is not quite cut and grad, is it? But maybe you'll learn something. So I'm like that sort of shape that and maybe a little bit here. So now we get out of that mode, shrink it to the area that I want it, and now I can add a gradient to what is a more complicated shape without having to paint it. That looks really good, actually. I like the way that works. I've got to do that more often. But yeah, I gotta Yeah, because when you do the selection, like the opacity actually will change. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Or I didn't realize it did that. Anyway. Magic. Learn something new all the time. All right. She needs a little bit more on the shadow side, so I'm gonna deepen that a little bit. Oh, wrong brush. I'm trying to paint with a blender tool. That never works. Yeah, it looks a little bit better. And then we'll do a little bit of just what would you call it? Just reflective lighting a little bit from the bottom, just so that it's not too flat or simple. And it gives it a little bit more of a feeling that there's some, again, that it's rounding around as opposed to just stopping. And what else? What else? What else? All right, let's do this optic blast thing here. I draw better vertically than I do side to side. So it doesn't really matter what kind of layer this is. I'm gonna brighten this. And I don't know. I'm gonna put a mask on that layer just so I can now dial this back a little along the edges. Again, we don't want to make it pink, do we? And then once you get the value in there, I will sometimes, then you can play around on top with like overlay or hard light and see if that does what you want it to do. I'm trying to get it to, what am I trying to get it to do? I wanted to soften some. And fix this. Do I use a blending tool very much? Not very much. Just to fix like paint strokes I screw up, basically. Where can you get brushes or my brushes? Most of these are labeled, or it's got the name of who it came, who it came from. Like in this case, Friendin. This Krupuk, I don't even know what this is. I don't remember. But yeah, you can look up these names. Ron Chan side pencil. That's a free brush. That texture brush is not available anywhere that I can tell you. And then Daub, that's a painted brush or a paid brush that I haven't really used today. But yeah, you can look those up, and they're not on the Clip store. Most of these are just purchased somewhere. All right. So I'm gonna start adding some red. And like I said, I don't want it to like completely dominate the image, like, because again, like realistically, like sure, I mean this thing would probably be blowing out red everywhere, you know, but it wouldn't make for a particularly interesting drawing if it was all just red. So I'm trying to keep it a little subtle. I don't know if that would get any red or not. It'd be close. And anywhere else that like right next to his visor obviously would be red. And I do want to reflect that in this because it's meant to be reflective. At least to an extent. I don't want to overpower the gold too much. I'm gonna do it about like that. Her hair's already red, so it's really not gonna do much of anything. And what else? I'm gonna turn this all down in a second and make it less prominent. But I want to start off by putting it in here. And now Yep. And now what I'm going to do is, again, on the mask for that, get a texture brush and start wearing it down. And this looks pretty good because it kind of emulates what happens. Like, you know, the edges of things get rubbed off and sharpened and, you know, or not sharpened, but dulled, and so you just don't see as much of it. And I really want this to be very subtle, and so I'm just painting it mostly away. So I did all that work and then erased most of it. That's what we did. All right. So I'm digging this so far. I think we're getting close. I don't know if my commissioner is still here, but if they are, you're happy to chime in with what you think, because I think we're getting into the end here. And this kind of stuff really is just more about just getting the detail level wherever we want. I'm actually gonna try something. This might look good like this. Yes, it does. And this is just on a clipping mask attached to the lines, or clipped to the lines. And it kind of helps to sell the shininess. I'm here. It's incredible. All right, cool, cool. I'm digging it. I really like this a lot. If I may say so myself. Let's see. But yeah, we're definitely getting close to being wrapped up here, I think. I really like coloring Gavin's work. It's always like everything is clean and simple, and nothing's ever like kind of roughed in or sketchy or. The red color on the bottom left is duller than the right, which is brighter. How did you get that? The red color on the bottom left is duller than the right, which is brighter. Oh, yeah. That was actually kind of an interesting little option I was showing people that I'll do it again real quick. So let's say that I want to light the ground up with this color, which I don't want to do. But actually that's a bad example. Let's say I need a normal layer. What is that? Not there. Let's say I want this color on everything, which I don't. But if I did, I just painted it all on one layer and then went in on the mask and painted it away in all the areas that I didn't want it. effectively. Something like that. But yeah, I'm just gonna get in close here, and I'm gonna on a normal layer, or actually probably not a normal layer, some kind of layer, and keep touching on some of these highlights. I can. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. What mask is it? No, it looks a layer mask, like a layer mask. The plan is get this printed and framed. Oh, really? Nice, nice. Tell you what, let me get a good look at this in Photoshop, because I always, I mean, if anything's going to be printed, I usually check it in Photoshop anyway, and I check all of my pieces anyway. But especially with these reds, I want to look at it in Photoshop, because Clip Studio, their CMYK preview does not like reds very much to me. It feels let me see what this looks like in Photoshop, and we'll see if it's right. Yeah, okay, so you can really see the difference in, yeah, they're both about the same in that way. So here's Photoshop, and this is what it looks like with the CMYK preview off, and this is what it looks like with it on. You can really see it the most in that pink. I see that shift there quite a bit. The pink power looks really good in RGB. In CMYK, it cools off a little bit, but we knew that, so I did it. But anyway, I like how this looks. Oh, the other thing I didn't point out, I did this and then didn't call it out. The yellow of Cyclops' suit and the yellow of her suit, in the place where they overlapped, I intentionally left all of this a lot cooler yellow. It's like a really desaturated yellow, so that the gold arm in front would actually still look okay. This is kind of a tricky color thing that I didn't point out, because if I actually, oh, I'm not even in Clip right now. Let me go back to Clip. If I go back to Clip and highlight the yellow stuff and push this up to, and it probably can come up a little bit, but if I were to punch this up to like the same level of intensity, you know, her arm sort of gets lost, because like where it ends and where his underwear begins are very close. You know what I mean? And so like that's the sort of thing that like you want to keep in mind when you're coloring, because you know, not everything that is the color it is the color it should be all the time. Sometimes yellow needs to be a little less yellow. Anyway, I'm going to saturate that a little bit. We got room. Plus the texture on her arm is very different. Usually if I'm stared at it for this long without any new without any new things happening, it's probably done. Let me sign this next to Mr. Guidry. And I'm also going to do a quick just levels adjustment on the whole thing. Color balance, not color balance. Tone curve. So you guys know curves? Let's talk about curves real quick. All right, because my back is hurting. I need to eat lunch. This is the dark side of the image. This is the light side of the image. All right. So you can see where all of these spikes are. these are mostly the gray values. So these are like, you can see like this is where the darkest stuff is on the image. And then as we get brighter, there's less and less bright stuff. Okay. So you can create points on this little graph by clicking anywhere. And we can push the darks brighter, which we probably don't want, or we can push them a little bit darker, which is that's a little dramatic. Hold on. Let me go back to just the curves. There we go. So pick that point. I'm going to pull it down some. Barely. And then I'm going to also pull up on this side. So it's a very subtle S curve. And if I keep dropping this, you'll see the darks keep coming down and the brights stay bright. So you can really overdo your image like this very easily. So I'm going to find a happy place that I like it, that is going to print well and look good on Mr. Frost wall. And I think that is about it right there. All right. Could you do the same thing if you play with the opacity of the red? Yeah, you could have painted it on with opacity also. Just build it up. That works too. As the line artist, is it rude, unprofessional to give the colorist notes if you're unhappy with the final results? It's not rude or unprofessional depending on how you say it. You know, if you're like, hey, this sucks, redo it, that would be rude and unprofessional. If you're like, hey man, the red thing in the back, I'd prefer if that was, or whatever, I think it's doing something. Like if you've got a reason, it's not just, I think this looks better. Not even a reason. If you should be able to back it up. You know what I'm saying? The values here are too close, and it makes this thing that I drew completely not show up. What if we brought the values up so that stands out? Or you know what I mean? Like as long as you are professional about it, no colorist is gonna say anything about a few notes. I say no colors. That's not true. Somebody's going to be like, man, for you. And then, yeah, probably. But I wouldn't. Which one of your courses teach these coloring techniques you use, like the mask you mentioned? Several of them. The one that would probably be most useful to you, I would say, is if you use Clip Studio, I would say like how I color with Clip Studio or whatever the name of it is probably the best one. Let me pull it up. If you use Procreate, I've got some courses on Procreate also. Hold on, let's see. Is my website down? Hold on. No, it's not. There was a typo. Sorry, I'm going to link you something here. All right, so this is, oh, wait a minute. Hold on. There we go. All right. A pro's guide to coloring in Procreate is what I would recommend if you use Procreate. Digital coloring with Clip Studio Paint, I would say if you're a clip guy. There's some Photoshop courses if you like Photoshop. There's a lot of Photoshop courses. It was in Photoshop for years. But yeah, no, I would recommend the clip one, and you can use make sure you get a coupon code on there. There should be one in the description, I think. Yeah, like CSP20 will work on the Clip Studio one if you use it. But yeah, there's coupons floating around. If you can't find one, let me know. Let's see. When you were first learning, I read that glows should be on a screen layer filled with black. I still do it that way, but I don't know if the black actually does anything. I was taught that also. I don't know if it's one of those things that, like, is this a leftover from some old thing? Did I just delete my... Oh yeah, I think I deleted my color balance layer. Or did I merge it? I don't know where it went. I keep making the wrong kind of layer. Hold on. There we go. Perfect. Save. I say it every time, the courses are worth 3 times the price. They used to be 3 times the price. The market has changed. I can't sell them for what I'm selling them for now. I need to drop all the... I just need to put them all in a bundle and sell them for $10. Maybe people will buy them. I don't get near the sales I used to. I don't get near the hits I used to on this channel, though, either. So, I mean, who wants to buy a course when you can go to YouTube and get it all for free? But let's see. Yeah, I don't know, Mr. Woods, about the SF layers. Like, I want to say that I actually did an experiment at some point where, all right, so this I'm going to fill with black and set to screen. And on this side of the image, I'm going to delete the black. So, like, I don't know. I don't see it. Do you see it? Is it a bright color? Does it matter? You know, I just don't see it. So there you go. I'm guessing that is some kind of leftover weird ass print thing that used to be a thing and now is not a thing, and it still gets passed around like it is a thing. There's a lot of that, and I've probably been guilty of spreading some of it myself. But anyway, well, I like how this turned out. Thank you so much to Mr. Frost that commissioned this, that was here. And I will get you a high res of this to check out and to print and do whatever you would like to with. Sorry, I forgot her lips. But yeah, I really like how it turned out. This was a fun, nice, just old school, you know, color some superheroes, you know? But I tell you what, I see this looks like a much better thumbnail than what I currently have on this drawing. So I'm going to save this real quick while I'm thinking about it. There we go. Fabulous. Dude, thank you so much. This was really fun. Like, and again, like, I feel like I learned something on every image, and I learned some tricks on that quick mask thing here. Here's what I mean. Like, and I guess technically, if you're skilled enough, you could just paint this. But if you weren't here earlier for this, I want to do this again real quick because I was impressed. And there's a bunch of layers on this. I don't really guess it matters. But if you have something, that is a good example though. So I'm gonna copy this just so I don't screw it up. Delete the mask, put it back. All right. So now this is basically just a levels adjustment that is brightening and is tinting a little bit yellow. That's all this does. But if you go into quick mask mode, and I'm gonna paint with a soft brush, and you're gonna ask, well, why don't you just paint the light if that's what you're doing? You're gonna see in just a second what I mean. So I'm painting the shape of this light on, and I'm letting it sort of drift into, you know, falling around the edges here a little bit, and I can come in and like remove little bits of sections on this. And now when I turn the quick mask off, that's the shape of my selection. So if I shrink that to where I want it to be, this is the part that is very tough to duplicate. It's one to be able to paint the shape. Okay? Like, where is, like, it's one thing to be able to just, why is this not showing up? There we go. Like, to paint the shape just outright. But to do that and have a subtle gradient, you know what I mean? Like, I've got this very complex shape, and I'm also building up the gradient in a specific way. And so you're really getting two levels of shifting here, if this makes sense. Like, I've got the shift in my brush that is just, you know, just doing a gradient. And then I also have the shape of the actual gradients I painted. Does that make sense? I don't know. I was very impressed with how that turned out, and that's not something I've ever tried before. So anytime I do something new that I haven't tried, I always try to like tell you guys. But anyway, that's what I learned on this piece. I'm looking forward to trying that again later. Thank you so much for watching. Do check the links in the description. Do click buttons. Help me get through school. But no, thank you so much for watching, everybody. I do appreciate it very much. The last Spider-Man piece that I did last week is available for Patreons this month. I will check with Nick to see if he minds me sharing at least the layered version of this. And but thank you all for being here, and I'll see you all next time.